Hey guys, welcome to the story nest where every story hides a shadow, and every shadow tells the truth. If you love dark, twisted tales that chill your spine, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you never miss a story. Maggie Dawson never planned to return to Chestnut Hill, the picturesque little village tucked between rolling hills and maple trees that looked like it belonged in a postcard and felt like it was stuck in the 90s, with its one diner, a suspicious number of yard gnomes, and locals who treated gossip like religion. But after being laid off from her New York design job and catching her boyfriend cheating with her manager while still freeloading on her Spotify account, she packed her life in a suitcase, dyed her hair red in a moment of crisis, and swore to stay just long enough to lick her wounds, not expecting the village and one flannel-wearing menace named Levi Brooks to completely mess with that plan. Levi, who now ran the hardware store across from the post office, was the boy who once shoved snow down her coat in 6th grade and now looked like a Pinterest board of hot lumberjack energy with his rolled-up sleeves, scruffy beard, and maddening smirk that he seemed to wear like it was his job. Worse, he lived directly across the street from her mother's house and spent every morning chopping wood like it was some shirtless lumberjack Olympics, and it didn't help that her mom seemed to think this was adorable, going as far as to accidentally leave out binoculars on the kitchen table like she wasn't the president of the Levi Brooks fan club. Determined not to fall into small-town traps, Maggie busied herself by working on freelance design gigs from her childhood bedroom, trying to ignore the floral wallpaper and framed horse posters from her teenage phase. But the town wouldn't leave her alone. Her former best friend Becky, now the overenthusiastic mayor who ran everything from council meetings to bake sales, recruited Maggie to help design flyers for the upcoming Fall Harvest Festival, and that somehow spiraled into planning the entire event with Levi, who was head of the decorations committee because apparently this town had those now, and nothing screamed awkward like gluing pumpkins together with the guy who used to call you Maggie Moo in high school. Their banter was immediate and sharp, filled with sarcastic one-liners, accidental flirtation, and way too many moments that left Maggie flustered, like when Levi caught her dancing alone in the barn while testing the speaker system, or when she tripped over a hay bale and landed right in his arms, or when they got locked in the community center closet for an hour with nothing but expired snacks and unresolved tension. Still, she swore she wasn't falling for him, even as he showed up with coffee exactly how she liked it, extra hot, extra cream, no judgment, or fixed the rickety railing on her porch without telling her, or handed her a box of sketchbooks he'd kept from middle school that she'd once given him in a burst of childhood confidence, complete with cringy "you're cool" notes she'd forgotten existed. The village, naturally, noticed the sparks immediately. Mrs. Pembroke from the knitting circle bet $5 they'd kiss before Halloween, and old man Grady started calling Levi your fiance just to mess with her. But the breaking point came during the Harvest Festival itself, when Maggie, dressed as a pumpkin, don't ask, accidentally knocked over a scarecrow display and Levi jumped in to help her clean up, only for the two of them to end up covered in hay and laughter and staring at each other like the world had narrowed down to that one chaotic moment. And just as she thought he might kiss her, her ex-Travis, the human cologne commercial, showed up out of nowhere with a bouquet of cheap roses, trying to win her back and loudly proclaiming how city life never felt the same without her, causing Levi to step back, his jaw tense and eyes unreadable, while Maggie stood frozen between two disasters, the past she escaped and the future she didn't understand yet. Chaos ensued. Obviously Travis made a scene, Levi walked away, the festival ended in a downpour that soaked everyone's costumes, and Maggie locked herself in her room, convinced she had ruined everything. But the next morning she found a note on her windowsill in Levi's messy handwriting that read, "If you're still running, I won't stop you. But I was hoping you'd stay and fight with me this time." And something in her cracked open because for the first time in forever, someone wasn't asking her to be smaller, or quieter, or different. They were just asking her to stay. Things didn't magically fix themselves overnight. Levi ignored her for a week and Maggie got into an argument with Becky over whether romance was more important than career stability. But slowly, awkwardly, everything began to mend. Maggie apologized with a pie she didn't bake but pretended she did. Levi forgave her while making fun of the crust, and together they rebuilt their friendship into something real, with long drives through winding roads, late-night talks under porch lights, and stolen kisses behind shelves in the hardware store, which she insisted was gross and thrilling at the same time. Months passed, snow blanketed the village, and Maggie began sketching again, not for clients, but for herself, until one of her pieces, a whimsical drawing of Chestnut Hill in autumn, went viral on Instagram thanks to Becky's teenage cousin. And suddenly she was flooded with commissions from magazines and brands, prompting her to open a studio right above Levi's store, where she painted during the day and sneaked into his apartment at night to binge true crime shows and argue over popcorn seasoning. The final twist came on Valentine's Day, when Levi, flustered and red-eared, led her to the town square where the whole village had gathered again, uninvited, and proposed not with a ring, but with a paintbrush dipped in gold and a "Will you co-sign a lease and also a life with me?" scribbled across the old mural wall they'd painted together last fall, and Maggie, laughing and crying and covered in paint, said yes, while Mrs. Tinsley fainted from excitement and a dog peed on the mayor's leg, because nothing in Chestnut Hill was ever normal but it was theirs, messy and magical and full of oddball neighbors and nosy matchmakers and traditions that made no sense. And as Maggie looked around at the place she thought she'd outgrown, now decorated with paper hearts, fairy lights, and the man she loved holding her hand like he never planned to let go, she realized that sometimes the best love stories aren't the ones you chase across cities or apps, they're the ones waiting in quiet towns, under creaky porches and behind sarcastic grins, in people who remember who you were and love who you've become, and in villages that refuse to let you forget where your heart belongs. Thanks for watching the story Nest. If this one gave you chills, drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more twisted tales that'll keep you up at night. Until next time, stay curious and stay careful.